Hello, welcome back to my channel. This is Amanda from Silver Arrow Tarot, and today I am going to do a video, pick a card all about boundaries. And I'm sure a lot of you on the spiritual path are already familiar with boundaries and have heard the term boundaries. So I'm going to be titling this video, How to Level Up Your Boundaries. So we're really going to focus on fine-tuning your boundaries in this pick a card, because I know most of you are not newbies at this game we call life and spirituality and healing and awakening and all of that. All right, so the two decks that I picked are OSHO's and Tarot, and this beautiful deck by SkYE Art. And I found it particularly interesting that, I pulled these out of my box, and this was on the top. And I pulled the tarot, the OSHO Zen, and the back of the OSHO Zen booklet looks like this. So I feel there's a synchronicity here because they look so similar. It's we think of boundaries as maybe a way that it makes connection more difficult, but the truth is more accurate, that when we have healthy boundaries, we can actually open up our hearts. When healthy boundaries are something that we've established, it's easier to open and be authentic, right? So it's a little bit of an paradox. It's a little bit of a conundrum. It seems like antithetical, but it's really not. So I'm going to do 3 piles, and I'm going to shovel just an initial card for you all so you can pick your pile, and I will be back shortly. Okay, see you. Welcome back. Here are your 3 piles. Now, I didn't light this candle in the intro, so we're going to do it now. Okay, so you might want to set any kind of intention. Well, I light it. Okay. All right, so you have pile 1 with the opalite. You have pile 2 with the aventurine. Maybe I'll let you guys see. Sorry, I have like paint on my hands. Life of an artist. Hashtag artist life. So we have opalite. Have aventurine. And we have, I think it's, I forget what it's called again. I looked it up. It's man-made, but it's really beautiful. Like some kind of quartz thing. And let me do a quick Palo Santo while you guys tune in. And I really invite you and your guides and your higher self to join us as we investigate the cards in each pile to bring through the highest good, highest clarity, highest awareness, and highest love for everyone who joins us in this reading. All right, I love you guys. See you in your pile. Hi, beautiful pile 1. Here is your card. And we're going to pull a bunch of more cards to clarify. But your first card is laziness. So I'm kind of feeling like maybe up-leveling your boundaries is going to entail kind of getting out of old habits, or maybe comfortable, not necessarily comfortable, but like, you know, they're just their habits, their patterns that have been there a long time, and they feel comfortable in that they've just been something that you have gotten used to doing, and the people around you have gotten used to you being or acting a certain way. And so up-leveling your boundaries, to be quite honest, is generally speaking, can be kind of an uncomfortable experience, right? Because we're asking ourselves to behave in a new way, and we're asking others to sort of adjust to a new way of treating us, of behaving around us. And that can cause some kickback, and oftentimes we're sensitive and we're psychic enough to kind of detect that it's going to ruffle feathers, that it's not going to go over well. I mean, sometimes this can, yes, be a projection and just an old pattern that doesn't really, that comes from past conditioning, and maybe you're around new friends and new people, and you just sort of kind of act and behave a certain way because of that's how you got along in your family of origin. But sometimes, you know, our fears can be, you know, legitimate in the fact that people are going to kick back a little bit in terms of they're gonna not want to, you know, change the way they've been behaving as well. So it's an adjustment period. So let's see what else we can find out for you, pile one. I'm testing out, I'll be honest with you guys, I'm testing out, you know, being more in the moment and not pulling cards ahead of time. So let's see what else we can find out for you, pile one. And let's look at how pile one can level up. Let's give us some practical, helpful advice from your spirit guides, from your angels, from your team. Thank you, Spirit, for bringing forth the highest guided messages to level up pile one's boundaries. Okay, let's see what we have. So we have success. And we have going with the flow. And we have healing. So yeah, I think like kind of what I was saying with the first card, there's this sense of like a lack of success with this old way of being. You're kind of been going with the flow, but that's not really working. It's not being as successful as you think it is, because this feels like there's a block now, like this with this card coming up in reverse, that it's inhibiting further growth, further healing on your journey, to kind of stay in this pattern of going with the flow. Because I would say if you're letting other people sort of dictate the parameters of your relationship or the dynamic, by just sort of going with the flow of whatever, you're actually not going with the flow of yourself, your own source stream, your own soul energy. So there's definitely this kind of, you may have, with these two cards together, it kind of makes me think about like the kind of like peace, love, hippie like vibe, or like the surfer kind of vibe, where it's like everything's cool, like everything's super chill, and it's like the chill girl, the chill guy, like they don't push up, there's nothing to push up against ever, which makes you seemingly well liked, but at the same time it's like, who is this person? Who are they really? They're so chill and cool with everything. Do I really know who they are as a person, right? So interesting cards. Let's look at some of these cards and see what comes through for pile 1. Oh, interesting. Never seen this card. Okay. So let's look at the cards. You have pleasure. Celebrate life. Engage in your passions. What you seek is seeking you. Love with your whole being. Release control of others. Be your own beloved. Interesting, guys. She's on fire. And you have this pregnant woman here. It says fertility. Explore creativity. Act on inspiration. Your thoughts become form. Manifest with intention. Free your imagination. And your last card here is rebirth. Honor natural cycles, balance giving and receiving, respect nature's intelligence. You are in rhythm with life. Move your body, dance. Okay, give me just a second to sort of put this all together. So firstly, right off the bat here, I feel like the advice is really talking about getting in the flow. So there's some need here with setting space, giving yourself space, creating a boundary around giving yourself space to dance, move your body, and go with the flow. You may be giving up your time to others and not prioritizing like what your body needs specifically, because your body, I feel like your body is really asking for movement here. At the very least, your body's asking for creative flow, so movement, but also any kind of creative expression, trying new things, giving yourself a space and time, blocking off time specifically for you to explore a creative outlet, and act on these inspirations. I feel like this is telling me that you're putting some of your your dreams and creative impulses on the back burner out of convenience, a little bit of perhaps laziness, just old habits, like I said. The laziness card also kind of makes me think about, like, he's just hanging out in his bathrobe. There's not a lot of movement. There's not a lot of, this kind of dude doesn't seem like the kind of guy who's like getting up and, going for a run, or like going for a nature hike, or going to a yoga class. He's just kind of like being sedentary. So there's a call for movement of some kind, creatively and physically, because there's an awful lot of movement right in this card. So yeah, this card is also talking to me about the same kind of things, like engage in your passions, your creativity, your inspirations, manifestation. Engaging in your passions manifests, right? And then this card also comes with the message, release control of others. And this is not exactly the most comfortable thing to bring up, but like, I'm here to give you advice. So here it goes. Oftentimes our chill, laid-back behavior can be our own sort of technique in terms of like getting certain needs met. So in a way, it's a kind of control when we are stepping back, because we're trying to control. What we're really trying to control is like other people's perceptions of us as like a cool person, a chill person, going with the flow kind of person, doesn't create drama, doesn't create issues, is easy, doesn't need a lot of things. So the truth of the matter is we all have needs, and we all have desires, and we all have boundaries. We all have preferences, right? So being honest with that, being honest with what we need from others, being honest with our own true passions, desires, dreams, our body's needs, our body's need for food, our body's need for rest, our body's need for movement, our body's need for mental stimulation or the lack of mental stimulation, being in nature, taking a 5-minute break to just be alone and sit and breathe. These are all needs. And if we're trying to be everything to everybody, or if we're trying to kind of put on this, give everyone this impression that we are just like cool with everything, that could be something for you to take a look at. If that's sort of a personality trait you've sort of adopted, to make sure that you get your needs for connection met. How can you see that you can get your needs for connection met while also still getting your needs, your boundaries honored? Because you are important. What you need is important. And if you have people in your life that don't treat you like your needs are important, it might be time for you to reassess the level of closeness you have with that person. I'm not suggesting that you just like cancel culture everyone out of your life, but like, let's be honest and let's be careful about the levels of which certain people who may not deserve all of us get the ability to be close to us. at all times. You know, we can have healthy relationships with people and still, you know, like with your parents or siblings or relatives of any kind. You know, you set a time where you say, I spend 1 hour a week on a coffee date with my brother, right? And that's your connection time with them, and the rest of the time you can have a healthy, you know, space if there's someone who tends to bring up a lot for you. All right, so this is all I'm seeing for pile 1. Thank you for joining me. I hope this was helpful. It's just a little fun dive into boundaries, the topic of boundaries. So I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for visiting, and I will see you in the next one. All right, bye. Hello, beautiful pile 2. Welcome to your reading. Let's take a look at your card, and then we're going to pull some other cards to get clarity, additional messages for you. All right, so your card, your initial card, is letting go. So we'll see what other cards come out, but initially I'm feeling for pile 2 that letting go of outcomes is going to be an important facet of you and your boundaries, because when we set boundaries, the fear of setting boundaries with people can often come along with this fear of like what will happen if they don't honor my boundary, right? If I set a boundary and I find out my worst case scenario comes true and they're not going to be amicable, they're not going to want to work with me, you know. It's kind of like if I set in place a request and a need, and they're like, nope, can't do, you know, you're on your own, whatever, that often means that we have to assess whether that person or situation is something that we can continue to have in our lives. And it means honestly looking at, you know, what we're holding on to and what it means for us to let go, you know, and where we're going to get that need or that relationship met, you know, those relationship needs met in other places. You know, we may have been holding on to someone or something because we feel like that's the only place that we can get that need or that thing met. And by having to come to the kind of brutal truth of it, that, you know, I've asked for it and now it's in my face, they can't give it to me, or they don't want to give it to me, or that's, you know, that situation has dried up. You know, what do I do now? Who, you know, it's a sobering moment, and we might be faced with some grief. We might be faced with some loss. We might be faced with some tough choices that might make us face feelings of guilt, and having to let go of certain responsibilities that maybe we've been holding ourselves responsible or overly responsible for a relationship or, you know, a situation. So let's see what else comes up for you, pile 2. I hope you like this new style. I'm trying to, you know, go with the flow a little bit more, and read as they come out and see how it goes. You know, comment below if you like it. All right, spirit guides, higher self, please bring us messages for how pile 2 can level up their boundaries. Let's bring in more messages, please, for clarity and guidance, for the highest and best good of the collective of pile 2. Thank you. Yeah, I feel some anxiety here. There's definitely some feelings around letting go coming up. Alright, guys. Ooh, we're flying out. Whew, okay. Interesting. Isolation at the bottom. Okay. What do I see? So what I'm kind of feeling here is you might be actually afraid of letting go because it's gonna create a space to be in your own thoughts and your own feelings with your own self, and I'm kind of getting that perhaps you might encounter some feelings that you've been sort of pushing down around feeling tired, exhausted, burnt out. Yeah, there might be something here around, for some of you, around an avoidance pattern with some of these feelings. So the reason that you may not be letting go is because you know once you do, letting go of certain people and environments and scenarios and people and places and habits, and have boundaries around your habits. This is gonna bring up some stuff that you might not want to feel. You might have been conditioned to not feel. There's like this, this image has like a robot. There's a robot. So it's interesting. It's like some of you have been programmed to just keep going no matter what, without considering your body's needs. The sensations in your body telling you to take a break, telling you to get some space, telling you to nurture yourself, go within, spend some time alone. I personally know a lot of people in my life that have a hard time sitting still. Have a really, really hard time sitting still. They are not, their go, go, go is the way they get out of feeling. And it's, constantly doing for others, which has been their conditioning. It's how they got their needs met. It's how they got significance within the group, within the family. It's how they fit in. It's like, this is my role. The person that gets everything, gets the shit done. And people that get the shit done have a hard time letting go sometimes of, like, for instance, like giving the chore to someone else, giving the duty to someone else. It's hard to let go. And that leads to burnout. That leads to exhaustion when you're trying to take on everything and do everything and be everything to everyone. I feel like this is, so far, has been a recurrent theme with pile 1 and pile 2, being everything to everyone. All right, so let's look at the Autumn SkYE deck. Let's see what comes out for you. All right, Spirit Guides, give us some more additional messages, guidance for pile 2. Thank you. Okay, interesting. Pile 1 also got this card. Okay, so give me a second and we will take a look at what we've got going on here. Okay, so like I was saying, loyalty, build alliances. We are stronger together. Fortify healthy connections. Surround yourself with those who inspire you. Honor promises. This is really making me feel like someone who needs to ask for help, especially with this exhaustion card coming up. There might need to be boundaries and limits around this idea of like, I'm topped off. I'm tapped out. And asking for help when you need it, letting go of the need to do everything yourself, and building healthy, strong connections, fortify healthy connections. The advice is definitely to, if you do have some people in your life that you feel are healthy for you, make sure to continue to water and feed those for number one. It's one of the things I think is coming through. And secondly, build new healthy alliances with people that, that are going to give you space, and even invite, not just like give you space, but literally invite. They're in tune enough to start to be like, oh, I'm seeing that pile 2 is actually exhibiting some signs. I can feel that they're on the verge, right? And they actually invite the conversation. Can I help you? Do you need help? I can see that you need help. Can I help you with that? People that are going to they're going to strengthen you. You can lean on them. Your pack, it's like that phrase ride or die kind of comes to mind. You need some ride or die people in your life. All right, let's look at this one. So it really speaks to me about inner children. All right, so it says perfection. Reclaim your innocence. You are a child of the universe. Remember your spiritual essence. See the divinity in all beings. Ooh, okay. What I'm hearing with this, see divinity in all beings, is that everybody is sovereign. Everyone is responsible for their own happiness and their own well-being. I feel pile 2 might at times feel overly responsible and overly what's the right word? Just take on more than what's yours. And part of this is part of this message is about you stepping back, realizing people have the power to get their needs met, and you're not the sole person to do all of that for them. You need to have trust and faith in their own ability to manifest. If you say no, I cannot do that. I do not have the energy. I do not have the time. I need space for myself. You need to trust that these people can get their needs met elsewhere. And if they're used to getting it from you, and it's going to be a little bit of an uncomfortable conversation, you know, you have to be able to learn to trust that people will find a way. And this is good for them. It's good for them to start resourcing from not just one person. And it's going to cause them to expand and grow. You know, ultimately you're not harming them. If it's bad for you, it's also bad for them. It's important to understand that this is the concept of the mirror universe. So if it's harming you in the long run, it is also harming them. And your needs, your bodily needs, your physical needs, your mental needs, your spiritual needs deserve to be met. All right, guys? Hope that makes sense. And yeah, there's a message here about you getting back in touch with this innocent inner child. The one that knows how to play, that one that knows how to relax. And, you know, this is the antidote to exhaustion, guys. Getting back to innocence and playfulness of life. Not everything is hard work, okay? Even though I feel like you may have been conditioned that way to a certain degree. Let's look at this one. So it says pleasure, celebrate life. All right, celebrate life with your inner child. Engage in your passions. What you seek is seeking you. Love with your whole being. Release control of others. And be your own beloved. So yeah, I think I've kind of covered that one a little bit already. What this one seems important to me. What you seek is seeking you. So like I said in the very, very beginning, you may be afraid to let go of certain things, certain people, for fear that there's not going to be someone to be there to meet that need for you. And it's important to remember that if you have the desire for it, if you set the intention, if your heart is calling for people like to come show up for you in a certain way, I know this is hard to accept, I know, but there are people that want to meet that need for you. There are 8 billion people on the planet, and some of them get great inherent pleasure and value and feel relief and they feel accomplished, they feel needed, they feel wanted, they feel desired, they feel that their life has meaning because they are meeting a need that you have. So please don't be afraid. Please don't be afraid, okay, to ask for what you need. Please don't be fearful that what you're asking is too much, that there's no one out there that wants to meet that kind of a need. We've got 8 billion people on the planet. That's a lot of resources. That's part of Mother Nature's abundance, is the fact that there are so many people, so many chances to get our needs met, to find people that nurture us, that value us, that give us time to rest, that want the best for us. Okay, guys? So this is all I'm seeing for pile 2. I hope this resonated. I hope this bring you some clarity, a little bit of wisdom, a little bit of self-awareness and growth, and some things to chew on. Thank you so much for joining me. I love you so much. See you in the next one. Bye. Hello, beautiful pile 3. Thank you so much for joining me today. This is your card that we pulled, the initial card, indicator card. And so your card here is fighting. So we're gonna look at this, and I'm gonna pull more cards throughout the reading. I'm doing things a little different today and trying to be more in the flow and read as I go. So, all right, pile 3. So fighting. It's a little bit of a tough energy. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it here, but it feels like you feel that boundaries are going to inevitably result in conflict, in fighting. So I feel like your leveling up process is going to involve dealing with these concerns around what happens when you set boundaries, and reprogramming and reconditioning yourself out of this fight or flight response when a boundary need comes up to be expressed. You might be a bit conflict avoidant at this time. I'm sensing, feeling a lot of, just in general, just sense of stress around boundaries. Boundaries are bringing up some feelings of fight or flight, anxiety, stress. And here this guy is armored up. He's got full body armor on. He looks like he's ready to do battle. So you might really harden up around the idea of having to express a boundary. So that's something to look at for yourself, because boundaries are not about winning and losing. They're not about fighting. They are about simply expressing your truth, which is valid and deserves space, just like any other human being on the planet. We all are here on the planet for a divine purpose. If this is something that you question, just think about the fact that there's only so many babies born every single year. Think about all the souls that are probably queuing up on the other side, waiting to come down. And there's only so many babies born every year, so there's only so many chances for a soul to come into embodiment and be here. That means that you absolutely have so much universal support for your existence, for you breathing. You would not be here if Source did not want you to be. And so along that same belief system, belief pattern, train of thought, that means that your needs are so important and so valuable and so worthy of being met. Okay, guys, so let's pull some more cards and see what else comes up. Please, Spirit, guides, angels of the highest love and light, bring forth messages on how pile 3 can level up their boundaries. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Aho, and so it is. Let us get clarity. Let us get clarity. Thank you. What does Pal need to know about leveling up their boundaries? What does Pal 3 need to know? Thank you, Spirit. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Spirit. Do we want these? Do we want these? Okay. All right. I mean, this is like right off the bat, guys. Like, what antidote to fighting? Can we say? Antidote to fighting? Interesting. So so what I'm seeing here is an element of needing to drop down into the heart space, and there's an element here of tapping into more playfulness, and maybe ask yourself questions around how can I bring more play into the idea of boundaries. However that resonates with you, maybe that's playing self-awareness games with your friends and family, to open up conversations in a playful way about needs and boundaries and getting your needs met. Because there's a sense to me that the intensity level needs to be brought down. Like I said, there's an activation happening with PALO 3, with the fight or flight, freeze or fawn response. So we need to find ways to help you bring yourself back into a more peaceful space, maybe before you bring your needs to the table, so you're not in such an activated, triggered state is the word I'm looking for. I don't know why I couldn't think of that. Right? So more playfulness, settling down, maybe a meditation practice daily. I hear so many people speaking about this, and maybe this is just my attraction point at the moment because it's something I need to do too. But so many people are talking about before you get out of bed in the morning, before you open up your phone and check your emails and check your Instagram and check Facebook or whatever you do, have a policy with yourself about settling in, centering, doing a meditation, sitting with yourself. And I would say it's important to understand that, I almost feel that people get kind of triggered around when someone says you need to meditate. And I'm kind of with you on that. But meditation doesn't have to be sitting there and it doesn't have to be hard. It just means sitting with yourself, being present with yourself. Set a time for 10 or 20 minutes and just be with yourself. Don't have to make it difficult. Don't make it into this really intense process of trying to make sure that you're not having any thoughts in your head. And we can put so much pressure on the process of meditation, and really all it is just showing up, being present with yourself and breathing. Maybe putting your hand on your heart and just saying, I'm here. And letting things arise. Or journaling and meditating, just maybe not even meditating. Maybe meditating is not your jam. Just some practice, you get up, you have your cup of coffee, and before you turn on your phone or your computer, you journal. Or you sit on your back patio and you watch the birds fly by and you just have a quiet time with yourself. This is going to help. I know this sounds like a tangent, but it's going to help with deactivating, because you want to be able to have more awareness of when you're feeling the activation, the stress response. You need to have more. The idea of meditation is that it gives you more time between the thought and the emotional activation to say, okay, wait, I just had that thought. Maybe I don't need to believe that thought. Maybe that's not the truth, the full truth, right? That's just a thought that I'm having as a response to what's happening. You want to give yourself more time between thought and reaction. That's going to help deactivate this. And what I'm seeing here with politics in reverse. The other part to why this activation may be occurring for you, for some of you, is this need to play a mental chess game. Play some sort of game with this mask. And that's what's kind of like activating you. So like, oh no, I've got to like justify my reasons for why I need this time off from my boss, and I've got to, I've got to convince them, and I have to come up with all these good arguments, and I have to, there's this like sense of needing to play the game instead of remembering that no is a complete sentence. I know that's such a difficult, I know that it's difficult. I know that what I'm saying is not easy. Because if it was easy, you'd be doing it already and you wouldn't be here, you wouldn't be listening to me. Yeah, these things are not easy. Because like the last pile too, they got the conditioning card. We've all been conditioned. We've all been conditioned to feel like it's a struggle to say no and have that be honored, have that be respected, have no just mean no, and like people not get all offended, and that their defense mechanisms get all blown up. Humans have a lot of healing to do in general. When someone says no, we get activated because it brings up our survival responses. Like, oh no, if this person says no, where am I going to get my needs met then? Or who's going to do this for me then? How, it can be activating. But I feel like they're saying there's a need for you to not take this burden on of other people's reactions. And the burden of trying to play the game also. Trying to play the game the way they want you to play the game. Right? I feel like there's that, I can't remember it now. It just slipped my mind, but that Don Draper quote from Mad Men, where he says, if you don't like the conversation, change it, or something. Do you know what I'm talking about? Probably not. You don't have to play the game. You can stand in your truth. You can let them try to manipulate you into feeling bad, but that ultimately you don't have to feel anything that you don't want to feel. People will manipulate people that are sensitive, especially people that are psychic, empathic, they're sensitive. We are so ripe for this kind of manipulation because we want everybody to get along. We want harmony. We understand that as the natural state of things. And we much rather have that. But giving up yourself and giving up your no and giving up your boundaries is not going to ultimately lead to what you want. It might be a good short term, it might be something that works in the short term, but in the long term, you're gonna feel stressed out. You're gonna feel burdened by life, and you're gonna be playing, you're gonna be playing the game, and you're not gonna feel authentic. And this is very isolating. It can be very isolating to live your life with a mask. All right, guys, so we're pulling from the Autumn SkYE deck here for final messages for pile 3 about leveling up your boundaries. And this is usually where advice comes through has been coming through for the piles. All right, so let's see. Spirit, guides, guardian angels of the light are asking for messages for pile 3, leveling up their boundaries. What do they need to know? Advice. Thank you, Spirit. What do they need to hear? All right. Contemplation. Oh, hello. Hi. This is in the beginning, if you recognize. Okay. Ooh, nice, guys. Let's see. So, let's take a look. Contemplation. Practice mindfulness. Don't jump to conclusions. Remember your spirit's mission. Allow things to shift naturally. Be patient. Which really goes along with this card, doesn't it? Opening. Heal old stories. Practice loving self-talk. Release personal judgment. You are limitless. Be authentic. Yes. And our final card here. Intimacy. Balance inner feminine and masculine. Practice unconditional love. Nurture your relationships. Let yourself be truly seen. We are all mirrors. I feel like I mentioned mirrors, right? Didn't I? I'm pretty sure I did for this pile. Let me know below if I didn't. Okay. All right, so what I was saying about meditation and giving yourself space between thought and response. Don't jump to conclusions. So that's one of your messages here. And this is definitely reinforcing that as a strong message. Practice mindfulness. Remember your spirit's mission. I think that is an important one to spend a second on, because when you can anchor into your spirit's mission and meditation can be a way to like ground that into. It can be easier to set boundaries, because your boundaries are only really you just saying yes to you. So you're saying yes to your spirit, you're saying yes to your soul, you're saying yes to your higher calling, you're saying yes to your truth when you express a boundary, right? And then it's about allowing, it's about letting go, and it's about letting other people sort of do what they're gonna do. And they might come around and they might say, you know what, I can help you with that. Or they might be initially unhappy, but then realize that maybe that was just their knee-jerk reaction. They might come back around and be more amenable to your needs. It just may take them a moment to adjust. But this is talking about giving that space and not immediately jumping to worst case scenario into a fight for your rights kind of energy. Just letting people react how they're going to react, and be solid in your be solid in what you're asking. Be clear in what you're asking. Meditation, time in journaling can help you be clear and speak clearly, because that's part of good communication, so that you can minimize activation on both sides. Yeah, and be patient with others as they kind of adjust to maybe a new a new way of relating to you. That was another message that came forward for pile 1, actually. All right, so like I said with this card, this activation, this fight response is probably a conditioned response from old stories and older experiences. I don't want to minimize, old stories kind of makes it sound like, oh, they're just old and done. They're still very much alive and well in your system, so they are valid. So I don't want to minimize that at all, but healing your past, healing the stories that you've been conditioned to believe about people's responses to your needs from the past, and practicing replacing that with more loving talk towards yourself. When someone rejects your boundary, do you then go into a negative self-talk, or do you stand up for yourself in your own head? Like, I know this was hard. I know this is difficult. I'm proud of you for speaking your truth. I'm proud of you for standing up. I know this was hard for you to say no. I know this was hard for you to express this boundary. Love yourself while you're expressing your boundary. No matter what, however the person responds. And be authentic. Like I said, with the politics card in reverse, it's time to be authentic. All right, intimacy. So let yourself be truly seen, which is essentially the same thing as as being authentic. As hard as it is, as difficult as it is, right? It can be very terrifying to let yourself be seen in your truth. This is why we wear the masks we wear. This is why we hide. Because if we hide and we get rejected, well, they haven't really rejected us, have they? They've rejected the mask. If we show ourselves, show our vulnerability, show our truth, oh my gosh, then I'm being actually rejected for who I actually am. That's way more terrifying. But it's also so much more rewarding when we do get seen and we do get accepted. Because the flip side to that coin is obviously they're not accepting our true self. They're not accepting who we really are when they're accepting us with our mask on. And the final piece here is that when we finally do start showing up as our authentic selves, then we are naturally much more likely to start being a magnet and get mirroring for acceptance from others, right? When we show up and authentically be ourselves and we love ourselves, our authentic selves, we're more likely to start to see that reflected outwardly. I don't want to scare anyone, obviously, because we can still find those connections, but it's gonna really start to come into focus as we come into greater love and acceptance of the truth of us. Being truly seen is also an element. There's also an element of allowing ourselves to truly see ourselves. And when we do that, it is easier to have others see us. I believe personally that that it's when we see the truth of ourselves, it's just easier to recognize when people aren't seeing the truth of us. So, if that makes sense. All right, guys, so I hope this was helpful. This was an honor to read your cards. I really love doing these readings, and I hope you will join me again in the next one. All right.